this is a little interview for question 7. Looking back at our preliminary task, what do we feel we have learnt in the progression from it to the full product? Well, both the preliminary task and the full product I've linked in this post, so you can see them both there, and now I'll talk about some of the aspects in which I've improved. First of all, research. For the preliminary task, we did very little work behind the scenes, whereas when we came to working towards Alistair, obviously it was months in making. We explored the genre, we looked at conventions, and we could develop, choose which of these we wanted to bring into our own product, and which of them we didn't, and the desired effect they had. For example, in drama there's a lot of conversation. This is something we didn't do, but it's also more slow moving, which is something we did do. It's very character based, which with Alistair is 100% of it. So that's some of the things we chose to use. Then we looked at audience quite a lot of time, and we've blogged about these things. We went to them, we surveyed, we interviewed, and we asked them what they enjoyed about the genre. Came like the personal plot lines, the relatable nature, stuff like that. We were able to improve the opening's appeal to them and develop. Audio was also very important. For our provisional task, we didn't have a soundtrack. All there was the sounds which were recorded by the camera, which is, for one, very low quality, and two, it ruined the atmosphere. We had chairs scraping along the floor and Velcro wallets, which killed the vibe of the opening, as you can imagine. Whereas when we came to Alistair, we put in a classical opening, which was a bit humorous, as it felt very out of place for the storyline, but it also showed his quite fanatical, a bit obscure personality. Dialogue was another thing. Everything in our provisional was based on dialogue, but looking at other dramas, we realised that dialogue isn't everything, and you can connote things which often have more of an impact, and saying things subtly can be more important in drama, which, there's not much dialogue in Alistair, and it's more observing his actions, which is something that happens a lot in drama. We were also able to add realistic FX, which we couldn't do in the provisional. We were, instead of having these Velcro rips and chair scrapes, we could add really authentic, realistic car noises for opening the boot, shutting the boot, the wind, but we were careful not to go too over the top. This is very important. We also learnt a lot about filming itself. We varied the shots a lot to keep things interesting, keep the audience engaged. We had establishing shots for the location. We had close-up shots in the car to really show the emotion and the pressure Alistair was under, to show that he knew what he was doing was wrong, things like that. We also had alternative filming techniques, so instead of just filming it all in quite a boring, traditional, unoriginal way, we were able to use a GoPro for the final shot, which we put in the hole, which is inspired by Breaking Bad, the TV series. They used it to film quite a gruesome scene with some gore, and we were able to cover it with dirt and without risking damaging the camera for our final shot, which was very effective and enabled us to put titles in quite a creative way. We also learned how to use things such as white balance, which is the reason our provisional is in black and white, because it was far too orange, and we learned our lesson there. And then again, when we were doing test footage, that's quite overexposed for Alistair because the shutter speed was wrong, so we improved that for the final cut. So we learned a lot. Organisation is also something you have to develop a knack for when you're working in a big project. We had to plan shoots well in advance, dates, notify actors, cameramen, the group, to make sure we're all available and will come to the shoot. Time management is very important, not only for filming, but for the behind the scenes work, for the blogging, and to make sure everything gets done within a deadline. Casting is also very important. We picked a lot more appropriate actors, fitting to the character. Instead of having teenagers trying to play gangsters, we had a slightly tired looking, otherwise normal looking middle-aged man playing the role. We had to make sure there was certain quality. We had some smirking going on in some of our rough cuts, but we've since changed our actor for Alistair to a more committed actor who wasn't going to leave the project halfway through like our previous one did. This wasted some time, and it's something we've learned about filmmaking, to make sure that they are very committed, because you're going to waste a lot of time otherwise. Pitching was something new to us. We'd never done it before, and we didn't do one for the provisional project. It's very important. It helps you get a clear idea in your head of genre, plot, shots, characters within the whole group before you pitch, so you can present it confidently to the audience. It gives you an immediate gauge of the audience's reaction, of good bits, bad bits, so you can begin to evolve and develop. If it was terrible, then we could have scrapped the whole idea. We got quite good reception for Alistair. They were especially engaged by the narrative enigma, so this is something we exaggerated in the production of the film. Mise-en-scène is also one of the most important things in genre of drama. Props, for one. We went round looking in the charity shops of Ilkley for bizarre household ornaments, which you'll see in the opening shot, to really show how quirky and unusual the characters are. One of them's almost quite comedic. Bizarre. He sits on a deck chair halfway through digging a hole. This shows how unusual he is. He's alarmingly relaxed, yet we know he's doing something that's suspicious. These are carefully picked items instead of a Velcro Nike wallet and stacked stool chairs in the corner like we had in our provisional. They just didn't fit. Costume is very important. We had a scruffy, ill-fitting motorbike jacket and off-road boots to show what an outcast Alistair was, instead of supposed gangsters in school uniforms and nerdy glasses. Location was something we used really well in Alistair, whereas in the provisional footage we were in a school room, which just really didn't make sense. It didn't make any sense at all. The moor, which I'm looking at right now, is barren. It really suggests that something suspicious is going on. No one else is going to see you up there. It's perfect. The development of the project was also something that we didn't use in our provisional. We filmed test footage to make sure shots that we had envisioned in our storyboard, and we did location scouting to make sure the location looked good on camera. We did actually move locations after doing some of this, so it shows how important it was. We did a rough cut, which was hugely useful, as we were able to get back feedback from our audience, to make improvements, to remove bits. And we removed our final shot, which they decided got rid of some of the narrative enigma which they liked. And then there's teamwork. It's very important that you develop the skill of mutual creative brainstorming. It's important that everyone can get their ideas across without any conflict. You have to be good at splitting up practical work so that you can share all the jobs. You need to keep the peace so you don't waste time bickering. This is something we did really well by the end, whereas at the beginning we didn't spend much time sharing ideas. We sort of just you know, whoever was dominant sort of led the task. Finally, there's editing and post-production. This is something we barely did on our provisional footage. The length of it was the black and white filter we used to cover up the bright orange footage. However, when it came to Alistair, we learnt to select the best clips out of many versions we've taken. We cropped them, put them together smoothly, cohesively, tweaked the colour bounce for the desired effect. We got accurate FX. And then there was the titles. We had to credit actors. Also, the name of the film at the end. This was, I felt we did very creatively. We used Illustrator to write on the name Alistair in a sort of handwriting font. We also made a very eye-catching idem using Adobe After Effects. Cogs, you'll see it when you go on Alistair, which involved movement of a cog, which is very creative. So these are all things that we didn't have in our provisional footage, and they give it that extra edge of professionalism. Well, thanks very much. As you can see, we learnt a lot in the time from our provisional footage to our finished product. Alistair, I hope you enjoy our film, and thank you for watching this little interview.